Hello, hello. So, in this video, I want to talk about something that I don't think is talked about even nearly enough, and that is how to support someone that you love who has a sleep problem. So, this video isn't for people who have the sleep problems themselves, but this is for the husbands, wives, sons, daughters, mothers, fathers, anybody else who is close to someone who has a sleep problem and is trying to support them but doesn't necessarily know the best way to do that. So I think that you are in a really unique and important position when you're the loved one of a person with a sleeping problem. And sometimes I even purposefully try to involve loved ones in the work that I do, because you're in a position where you can have quite a significant amount of influence, and you can help the person to stay on the right track with the way that they're thinking or the way that they're feeling. So I've just got some pointers for you today. Three main things that I want you to think about when you're supporting someone who you love who has a sleeping problem. So the first thing is to be patient and supportive. Now, I know that this isn't easy. I know that it can be incredibly frustrating when you've got someone who's struggling with their sleep, because in many ways it can change their personality, it can change their temperament. You might miss that kind of easygoing person that you used to know. Sometimes it can make people seem very irrational and kind of develop what feel like crazy rituals and anxieties about things that you just would never have dreamt that they would worry about. And they can also, if you're, in a relationship, it can be that they feel like, every breath you take is annoying to them, or every movement you make is you trying to sabotage their sleep. There can be so much that goes on here, and it is really, really frustrating. And it's often frustrating because you want to be able to fix it, but you can't. So the first thing to do is, it's important to recognize that these things that your loved one is doing are symptoms of the problem. So they're not trying to get to you, they're not trying to upset you or cause problems, but they're these things that they start to do, or the changes in mood or the anxieties, are symptoms of the sleep problem itself, and it's very normal. What they need more than anything is just your patience and your understanding. So if you want to give your opinion, or if you want to challenge them, which is quite often important, it's important to do it in a very kind and gentle way, because they are suffering and they are struggling. And however crazy some of the things that they talk about might seem, it is part of the problem and it is normal. So your kindness and your compassion are really, really important. People with sleep problems are often very frustrated and upset with themselves. So they feel like this simple thing of going to sleep that I used to be able to do, or that everybody else can do, it's so difficult that I can't do it. And I'm so frustrated with myself. And what they need more than anything from you as a loved one is a hug. They need comfort. They need you to be that person that they can go to for that comfort. And that requires you to be patient and understanding. So, within that, one of the most important jobs that you can do, and that you're in a unique position to do, is encourage them to seek professional help, because you can't fix this for them. And very often someone with sleep problems feels embarrassed that they can't do something as simple as just sleep. They feel frustrated with themselves, they feel hard on themselves, sometimes they don't want to make a fuss, and so people don't get the help that they need, and the problem drags on way longer than it needs to. And sometimes it's almost like they need permission to say, I'm allowed to get some help, I'm allowed to put myself first and to spend the money if necessary, and I'm allowed to make this a priority and to get my sleep back on track, effectively to admit that I have a problem. So it's really important that you can do that for them, because you're in that unique position. And a lot of the people that I end up working with have had encouragement. So it might have been going on for years and years, but at some point, someone has encouraged them, and sometimes even done the research to find out where to go for help. because that person who's struggling just doesn't have the headspace to do it, or doesn't feel able to almost kind of trust themselves with those sorts of decisions. So as a loved one, you're in a unique position, a really important position, to encourage them to seek support and help. So please do that. Okay, so number 2, another really important thing that you need to bear in mind is not to get drawn into their ways of thinking, into their anxieties around sleep. So especially when you live with someone, but anyone really, it's easy to get drawn into the person who's struggling with their sleep, into their anxieties, into their experiences, into their expectations even. And that's particularly true when the issue's been going on for a while. So you start to accept it, just like they do, as it's just the way I am, or there must be something really wrong with me. And it's very easy for the loved one to start believing that too. So as the partner, the mother, the father, the son, the daughter, the friend, whoever, it's easy to say things like, oh yeah, but we can't do that because you won't sleep. Or make sure you get your tablets because you won't sleep at all without them. And those types of things are just so easy to just trip off the tongue, because it's almost part of the reality that you're experiencing. It's part of what the evidence is showing you. If they're not sleeping, that's your evidence. But believing in these types of things is a big part of where insomnia and sleep problems get their power from. It's how they thrive. So every time the sufferer is hearing that, it compounds the problem just that little bit more. And often even worse when it comes from someone else, because then it starts to feel like, oh, that really must be true. So being careful what you say and being careful not to compound the problem is really important. So it's trying to keep your language sort of neutral and supportive. And I know this isn't easy, and I know sometimes, something will come out and you'll think, oh, that wasn't the right thing to say. But as much as you can, trying to keep your language neutral and supportive, and making sure that you're not getting drawn into the same unhelpful thoughts and beliefs that the sufferer is stuck in. So saying something instead like, well, would you like to try it? Would you like to go away and try sleeping somewhere else? Or how do you think I can best support you with it? So just trying to be there for that person, without being drawn into all the same anxieties that they're stuck in that's compounding their problem. And then the third and final piece of advice I've got for you is that you can be the voice of reason. So you are in a position to feed back more helpful things to the insomnia sufferer. So feedback more helpful things, feedback a more of a true perspective. Because when we're in insomnia and sleep problems, very often, well, almost all the time, you get stuck in a certain way of thinking, and it's almost always negative, and it almost always has negative expectations sort of built into it. And so you can be feeding back the positives. You can be really positive when they have a good night's sleep, or you can be really positive about the good portion of a night that they've had. You can be encouraging them and reminding them that they can cope even when they think that they can't. You can be reminding them of maybe funny places that they've fallen asleep, or great sleep that they've had, or wonderful night's sleep that they've had, thunderstorms that they've slept through, all of that kind of thing, because that stuff is really important to reflect back to the person who's suffering that they're not broken, that they are capable of sleeping well, that something might have gone awry, but fundamentally they have the capability of sleeping. And that's something that very easily gets lost when you're struggling with sleep problems. So, whilst these 3 things are really important, 1, being patient and supportive, 2, being careful not to get drawn in to their anxieties and worries, and 3, being the voice of reason, these things aren't going to fix the sleep problem. So you're not in a position to make it better for them, but these things are going to really help and make a difference. Ideally, you really wouldn't be supporting them on your own. Sleep problems usually require some sort of professional support to get past, to retrain the body and mind to sleep, to help them to overcome those old ways of thinking and get back into a good place where sleep comes naturally and easily. Now, that professional help is usually really quick and easy. It's not a long, drawn out process. So, your position is to encourage them to do something about their issue and not just wait and hope that things are going to get better, and certainly not assume that they're broken. So, you can have a look at what I do at sleepseekers.academy. A sleep assessment with me is a great place to start. That's a simple one-off session that can just be like a nice entryway for someone who's struggling. So that might be something you can support them to do. You shouldn't have to be supporting them by yourself, but what you say really does make a difference. So I hope this video has been helpful. I hope that it helps you to feel a little bit less powerless. It's not to say that you can fix it, but it's to say at least knowing the best ways to support is just a little bit more power and control for you. I hope that this has given you some pointers. Please feel free to get in touch if you need to, if you need any more support or advice. Okay, bye for now.